very challenging practice today. Really pleased with how the players responded. Both sides of the ball. I thought both showed some things at different times in practice. Really challenged the defense after I thought that our intensity level wasn't where it needs to be on Saturday, and they responded as probably better than I had anticipated, and exactly the way I expect. From that group, they got a lot of pride in the way they fly around and play. And then I thought the offense responded back again in the second half of practice. I thought our offensive line looked very good during the team portion of practice. So I think we took another step today. Now it was intense. It was extremely competitive, and it was. That practice tells you something about yourself. Guys that don't show up in that practice, they tell you something. And guys that do show up in that practice, they tell you a lot. And so, pleased with the way the guys approached today. I think that film's going to, be a great one for us to look at and grow from. We just got to continue to take those steps, with being able to execute in that kind of an intense environment when you're tired, because our pace is it's going to be one we're going to have to execute when we're tired. So, but could not be more pleased with the way they approached today.
Second week and already the fifth practice of spring, so does it start to feel more real for you guys as coaches? This week in particular, like a lot is in, more physicality, more competition, as you said.
Well, that one was. Yeah. You can't practice like that every day, and I wanted today's practice to be like that because I don't want I don't want to have that kind late in the week, because I want Saturday to be like that. That kind of intensity and that kind of pace of practice today is how I want Saturday to be. I think Saturday's the first real look at what we can do. So we got to make sure we get ready for that. But you're learning a lot about a lot of people. And there's been some pleasant surprises, and there's been some guys that they're still trying to figure it out. But you've got a lot of guys doing some good stuff out there.
How has the offensive line adjusted to this style and pace of play this year?
Well, it's different. It's different. I think that they'll probably tell you after a day like today that they see how it's really going to help them. And I thought just we protected well in that team portion. We did a good job in the run game in that team portion with the first group. Now it's we got some young guys that got to continue to come along, but that first group, I really liked what they did today.
How awesome is it to see that competition, in March, just to see them really going after each other?
Oh, it's awesome. And I think that the offense is not the only ones excited about it. The defensive guys, they're excited about it. They're excited about, what potential we see right now. But, again, it's just practice 5. I am pleased, but we got to get better. Our execution, it's still, we got to execute better, because you gotta put drives together, and you got to put the ball in the end zone. That's the name of the game.
Obviously, we saw Julius Wood today at Pro Day. Stepping in for him with this team, who have you seen kind of step up as safety with this year's version thus far?
Well, I thought Jordan Huff had a pretty good day on Saturday. We'll see how today's practice was. Omar Rogers is a veteran guy. Devin King's having a good spring. You got some other guys that I want to continue to push to bring along, but I think those 3 have probably been the most solid on the back end. I thought Gavin Gibson did some good stuff on Saturday, and Kingston McKinstry did some good stuff on Saturday at the Sam and Nickel. I want to look at the practice for today for some of those other guys.
And all those guys, they've all played a decent amount, and now I guess just taking a bigger role. Like, what's the biggest challenge for them, kind of making that stuff?
Well, they've got to play with more consistency, and they've got to be out there, when the bullets are flying, down after down, and then we've got to get those next guys ready, because Julius was really good, but we also had a really good guy behind him, and so you got to have depth in the secondary, and just being able to play consistently, down after down, that's the real thing if you're going to be the guy. But then you got to have the next guy ready too.
What have you seen out of Hauser and Garcia, not only in their play but as becoming kind of leaders for the team?
Well, like I said, Saturday they both have shown ability, and they both mentally can handle everything in process, and you got to process quickly in this offense. I think both of them are doing a good job of, like Jake on Saturday, he'd be over on the sidelines between series, really positive encouragement with the linemen or the receivers, and having discussions with the receivers on what they were doing on the field. I think Caton's done, you know, a lot of the same things. And so I think right now they both understand that they're in a pretty tight competition. And so, you know, they're really focused on that. But I think they're doing the things with the units they're practicing with each day. They're doing the things that they need to do.
You're a weekend now, or more than a weekend. Obviously, you brought in some new coaches. You got to know them well in media rooms and that sort of stuff. How much have you enjoyed watching them kind of coach their positions early in spring ball?
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, they're getting accustomed to, you know, our guys too, and our practices. You know, I think some of them were a little surprised at how, you know, our guys, you know, when that horn sounds, it's period one, now they go. You know, you ain't gotta, you know, beat them or coax them into going. So I think they've been pleasantly surprised with that. But yeah, I enjoy, you know, just John David Baker and his leadership on offense, and just, you know, the way, you know, he's got a very positive attitude with the guys, and, you know, he can be demanding when he needs to be demanding. But I think, you know, the kids are really responding to him. You know, probably the same thing with Matt Maddox. Yeah, I think that you know, he's a sharp offensive line coach. You know, he knows this deal. So I've enjoyed just watching him, and I'm learning too. You know, this is a lot different than anything I've ever done. So you know, I'm having to learn something new also. But you know, I tell you, I'm really it's good having Coach Powell, you know, in our staff meetings, and just his experience, and I think that'll be good for our overall staff.
And how much have you enjoyed him just, you know, being able to coordinate special teams, and all you guys helping, but him being able to kind of really focus on that specifically?
I think he's kind of enjoying it too.
Yeah.
Now he's trying to learn this offense as well. So he's sitting on offensive meetings when he can, but he's really focused on our special teams and our schemes. He's learning our kids, and, you know, who you can trust. You know, it's just, you know, like I said, you know, a guy with his experience, I'm appreciative of having him with us, just from a, you know, sounding board. I'm sure I'm going to use him a lot, just with a lot of situations and scenarios, just as a sounding board, just because he's seen so much.
When you're talking about playing with like this kind of pace, you know, how much is trust in each other kind of go along with that? Just knowing like, hey, like we're going fast, and, you know, I gotta trust that we're gonna be where you gotta go.
Well, that's the thing, is everybody's got to be on it, because if you can execute, then, you know, you can really, you know, do some pretty you know, exciting things. But you know, you gotta be accountable, and, you know, you gotta be a guy that everybody can trust, and then you gotta trust everybody else to do their job. There's no doubt about that. But it's that way with any offense. It's just in this one, you know, it's, you know, the mistakes are glaring, and then the execution in the pot when you do it positively is glaring. You know, because, you know, you can generate some explosive plays.
What have you seen out of Winston Wright thus far?
I think a lot, like I talked about Casey Kelly. You know, he's a savvy veteran. He's a guy that has a lot of confidence. You know, he's not arrogant, but he's confident. And he's hard on himself too. You know, he dropped the ball at the team during the team period today. That would have been a huge play, and, you know, it's because he was tired. You know, but I could tell him off the field. I was talking to him. He's ticked at himself because he expects himself to make that play, because he's been a high-level player at other places he's been, and he expects to be that same guy here.
I have a question from one of my news reporters who's doing a story on Blake Prohl.
Yep.
She wanted me to ask what you remember about him as a football player here at ECU, and what you think of his success that he's had since.
Well, I'm really excited for him and his success. I texted with him when all this stuff started, just kind of giving him a hard time. But we all knew he was very talented, and knew he could, you know, sing and all that stuff when he was here. But you know, he's kind of taken it to the next level. But, you know, Blake's a first-class guy. Comes from a great family, high character young man, and you know, one that, you know, even though I don't see him, you know, very much, still feel like I have a, you know, very close relationship with him from our time here, and, you know, respect him a lot, and just really happy for him and excited for him with all his success.
Anything else for Coach? Thank you,
All right.
Coach.